Elon Musk categorically denies SpaceX is making an AI device with proprietary OS. The leverage shift starts now. Here is the signal that separates noise from actionable change. We will map trigger, incentive shift, and downstream impact before the close. Sleeker than anything on the market. Proprietary software. Direct challenge to Apple and Google. Elon Musk just shut it down. Categorically. No hedging, no we're exploring it. Just a flat denial. But here's the thing, the denial itself tells you something crucial about what's actually happening in Musk's ecosystem right now. Let's start with the surface claim. SpaceX, the rocket company, making consumer hardware? On paper it sounds absurd. SpaceX's entire business model is launch services and Starlink satellite internet. They're not a consumer electronics manufacturer. They don't have retail distribution. They've never shipped a phone or a tablet. But Musk has a pattern. Tesla started as an electric car company and became an AI and energy play. Neuralink is neural interfaces. The Boring Company is tunneling infrastructure. Each one of these ventures exists because Musk sees a bottleneck, a problem the market isn't solving fast enough, and he builds around it. So why would he even deny the SpaceX AI device rumor so hard? That's where the second layer matters. If you pay attention to what Musk has actually said about AI over the past 6 months, it's been split. On one side, he's been critical of OpenAI's direction, saying they've abandoned their non-profit mission and become a for-profit operation. On the other side, he's been cautious about Grok, his own AI model at xAI, emphasizing that it's still early and that alignment is the real problem nobody's solving. A SpaceX AI device would have required him to commit to a specific hardware vision for AI interaction. Right now, he's not ready to do that. Not publicly, anyway. Here's the practical implication. Musk is signaling that the AI device space, the idea of a standalone handheld with proprietary OS, is not where the real leverage is right now. The leverage is in software, in satellite internet as the backbone for distributed AI, and in API integrations with existing ecosystems. Think about it from Starlink's perspective. Starlink currently serves 2.5 million users globally, with growth accelerating in underserved regions. That satellite internet infrastructure is already a play on connectivity as the foundation for AI. If you can get reliable, low-latency internet to remote areas, you don't need proprietary hardware, you need good software running on existing devices. That's the contrarian angle nobody's talking about. The denial isn't a missed opportunity. It's a signal that Musk's actual strategy for AI and hardware is more integrated and less consumer-focused than the rumors suggested. Now let's talk about who this affects. If you're an investor in Starlink, and remember, it's valued privately but expected to IPO, this denial reinforces the thesis that Starlink is becoming infrastructure first, not device first. That changes the TAM calculation. Instead of competing with Apple on hardware margins, Starlink stays in the connectivity layer where margins are healthier and stickiness is higher. If you're a developer or startup building AI applications, the signal is that Musk's ecosystem is moving toward open APIs and integration, not walled gardens. That makes it easier to build on top of Starlink's infrastructure without needing proprietary hardware. If you work in consumer electronics at Apple, Google, or the Android ecosystem, the denial actually relieves pressure. You're not going to face a Musk-backed competitor in the phone space. At least not from SpaceX. But here's what changes next. Watch for 3 things over the next 60 days. First, xAI will likely announce new partnerships or integrations with existing hardware manufacturers. If Musk isn't building the device, he's probably licensing the AI software instead. Second, Starlink's next earnings report will probably emphasize connectivity speeds and coverage in Asia and Africa. Those are the markets where a device-first play would have made sense. The fact that he's denying it means the strategy is turning towards software over satellite, not hardware over satellite. Third, watch Tesla. If the AI device concept gets recycled, it'll likely appear as an in-vehicle feature first, a tighter integration between Tesla's existing hardware and a proprietary AI interface. That's lower risk than a standalone handheld because Tesla already has manufacturing, distribution, and a captive user base. The deeper pattern here is about where AI leverage actually lives in 2025. It's not in new hardware form factors. It's in data, in compute access, and in connectivity. Musk's ecosystem, Starlink for connectivity, XAI for models, Tesla for real-world data, that's actually coherent when you see it this way. A standalone SpaceX device would have been a sideshow. So the denial matters because it tells you Musk's moving faster toward integration and away from standalone bets. That's a signal worth paying attention to because it tells you where the real competition is moving next. This is the kind of signal-first analysis that matters in tech right now. Not the rumor, the denial. Not the device, the infrastructure play underneath it. If you follow markets in tech, you know how rare it is to see this clearly. Subscribe to Atlas Signal for more analysis like this. We catch the signals everybody else misses. Watch the execution timeline, second-order market effects, and policy response to gauge what happens next. Watch the execution timeline, second-order market effects, and policy response to gauge what happens next. Watch the execution timeline, second-order market effects, and policy response to gauge what happens next. Watch the execution timeline, second-order market effects, and policy response to gauge what happens next. Watch the execution timeline, second-order market effects, and policy response to gauge what happens next. Watch the execution timeline, second-order market effects, and policy response to gauge what happens next. Watch the execution timeline, second-order market effects, and policy response to gauge what happens next. Watch the execution timeline, second-order market effects, and policy response to gauge what happens next. Watch the execution timeline, second-order market effects, and policy response to gauge what happens next.